All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, South Carolina Realtors. My name is Marlana Scott. I first would like to start off by thanking South Carolina Realtors for this partnership on this great series that we have that's going to span over 3 different webinars. I'm currently in Pittsburgh, that's where I reside, but I actually just left your great state yesterday, and I left behind all the sunshine and weather as well, since it's a little cold and we even saw some snow today. But thank you for the time that I had when I was there. I appreciate visiting South Carolina as always. So as I mentioned, this is the first of 3 webinars that we're going to conduct. And basically the focus of this is helping you and your business prepare for home buying season and beyond. We know that there's so much information out there in the market, and we want to make sure that we streamline some of that for you regarding and let you know some of the things taking place from a housing and economic standpoint, future home buyer trends, affordable products, tools for first-time home buyers, and how to help your clients tackle some of that aged housing stock out there, because it is an issue. During this first session, we'll be diving into the housing market and future home buyer trends. This is really going to level set how the market is changing, what is to come from a future home buyer perspective, so that you can really shift and prepare your business for that younger, more diverse, as well as female home buyer. So on the next slide, you're going to see that just a little bit about me. I am a single family client and communication affordable lending engagement manager. My role really is to manage the real estate professional relationships that we have across the country, provide the education and insight regarding our affordable product solutions for low to moderate income, very low income, as well as those first-time home buyers, and share with you some of the tools and resources that we also have available free for you to utilize in your daily business. So now that you know about me, let's talk about who Freddie Mac is and what our role is in the industry. We recently celebrated 50 years of making home possible in 2020. Our role was actually created and chartered by Congress back in 1970 to really operate in the secondary market. Our mission is to promote liquidity, stability, and affordability, as well as equality in housing, nationwide in all economic conditions. And you can imagine this past year really required us to hold steady with that mission. Our community mission is to stabilize communities, prevent foreclosures, expand credit responsibly, educate those future home buyers, as well as counsel current homeowners, support affordable rental housing. There are 3 main lines of business: single family, which I am a part of, multifamily, as well as capital markets. Now, exactly what do we do in the secondary market? So on the next slide, you will see that we actually do not lend money directly. We buy mortgages that meet the criteria or requirements that we have from our approved lenders. We have several, thousands of approved lenders, most of them who you probably work with. With that money that lenders receive from us when they sell the loans, they can continue to make more mortgage loans for a lot of the clients that you're currently serving. We then take those pool of mortgages, tie them into securities, and we sell the shares of the securities to investors worldwide, which in turn helps us to generate more money, so there's more loans available for more lenders. So again, just to reiterate, we do not lend directly, but we support a lot of what is going on with your lenders and to support the mortgage market as a whole. Now that you've heard about us, let me share what we have as far as initiative to address that the support that we provide. We created an initiative that we wanted to tackle to talk about the affordable ecosystem. There are so many different players involved in this business, and it really takes all of us working together to create home for everyone. So we created this initiative called All for Home. And you as the real estate agent are really at the center of all the mortgage transactions. You are the trusted advisor. But again, there are so many different players that are involved in this home buying process and what you do on a day-to-day to make home possible for your clients. I think it's easy for us sometimes to forget how many people we come in contact with to make the American dream possible. So this really is the goal and the purpose for creating this affordable ecosystem initiative. It's important in your business to know what others impact your day-to-day business and vice versa. We really are in this all together and how to, create All for Home. So the purpose of this again is to We partner with the different people in the ecosystem to make sure we're collaborating and really driving business opportunities. Now that you know about what we're doing here at Freddie Mac, let's talk about the market. You know, in 2020 it took off. Let's talk about where we came from and where we're going, and where we are and where we're going. Now you'll see the availability now from a macroeconomic level. I'm going to touch on that. So the availability of COVID-19 vaccine and its widespread distribution should help to steer a lot of the economy towards recovery. The timeline on this does remain unknown. The labor market has recovered from the lows it reached last April, but it continues not to be so strong. As of mid-December of 2020, jobless claims are about 20 million, remaining well above the pre-pandemic levels. The current unemployment, or the unemployment rate, was at 6.7%, in December. But the housing market, which rebounded strongly over the summer, continued to perform well in the second half. And one of the main reasons, and I'm sure all of you know this, is because of the record low mortgage rates. I'm going to spend a moment talking about that for a second. So mortgage rates hit lows in 2020, and this low mortgage rate environment is projected to continue through 2021 and to 2022. You know, as the Federal Reserve has voted to keep it anchored pretty tightly. The surge in home sales, though, put pressure on the housing inventory and caused, you know, unsold inventory really to hit an all-time low, with about 1.23 million as far as inventory, which gives us only about a 2.3 month supply at the current sales pace. The high volume of home sales and low supply of housing really has edged up the housing prices by about 4% quarter over quarter. In the fourth quarter of 2020, we saw this average. Freddie Mac forecasts house prices will continue to grow moderately through 2021, and then in 2022, it's going to reduce respectively. The low mortgage rates, increasing home sales, and increasing house prices also have given a boost to mortgage originations, which we're going to see in a slide in a couple of moments. The total mortgage originations went to almost $4 trillion in 2020. A lot of that was the refinance portion of originations, as well as purchase originations. So total mortgage originations were forecasted to be about 1.2 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2020, mainly driven, of course, by the refinance options that you saw out there. So let's take a look at what that looks like visually. On the next slide, you'll see the forecast snapshot, a little bit of what I actually just mentioned. You'll see back in 2019 where we started, or before all of this happened, 2020 happened, excuse me. And then you can see where we went in 2020. Everything really skyrocketed. And then 2021, you will see they'll remain pretty consistent for the total home sales, but then the house price growth drops off. And then as you can see in 2022, this takes place as a reduction again. So that's just basically a visual idea of what I just went over in the previous slide. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see exactly what those originations looked like in the breakdown. I mean, 2020 was a huge year in comparison, especially to even going back to 2012 and beyond before that. And you saw most of that, 2.6 trillion was, as I mentioned earlier, the refinance originations. And again, this is still a great time to refinance. And if you have clients out there that are, potentially reaching out for more information, this is still a great time to do that. Then again, we're at 1.4 trillion with the purchase originations, and you can see again, 2021 will remain pretty steady with purchase. We will reduce with refinances, and then that'll remain pretty steady through 2022 as well. So if you go to the next slide, how does all of this really impact homeownership rates? Homeownership rates have drastically, not really improved much. In the overall United States, you can see since 2019 fourth quarter, we were at 65.1%. Now we're at 65.8%. So not much growth. And then we wanted to break it down by region. So you can see the Northeast region had minimal growth, Midwest, the same. South had a little bit more growth than everyone else by a percentage point. We're at 67.7%. And then the West also had minimal growth as well. This is primarily due to the homeowner vacancy rate, which is about 1%. And it's about 0.4 percentage points than the rate was in 2019, as I mentioned. So there really is some challenges, and a lot of that has to do with, inventory and, other challenges out there. So speaking of challenges, what I would love for you all to do is in the chat, if you don't mind, tell me what some other barriers to homeownership or challenges are to homeownership right now that you're seeing in your day-to-day business, whether that's down payment, whether that's aged housing stock. So I really would love to see if you can put it into the Q&A and take a look and see exactly what's in, or excuse me, the chat, I'm sorry. So tell me what some of the biggest barriers are you see in your day-to-day business. Down payment, credit, so many cash buyers in the market, yeah. Income level are not keeping up with home prices, yes. Not enough savings, inventory. Yeah, those are pretty, thank you for those of you who responded. Those are pretty consistent across, the board. Inventory continues to be one of the biggest, issues out there. Supply and demand, is really key right now as far as, keeping a lot of home buyers at bay, especially those first-time home buyers that we're going to touch on here in just a moment. I think I have one more. None of homes in the market. Yes, yes. So thank you so much for all that. I really appreciate you guys participating in that. All right, so let's go on to the next. So let's take a visual look at what our interest rates, our mortgage rates look like, excuse me. So it's really a tale of two economies. The services economy remains in the doldrums, if you will, but the production side of the economy remains strong. So with the new COVID-19 cases receding at the time of this slide, at the time of this information was created, was helping to, led to a rise in treasury rates. But the run-up actually has not impacted mortgage rates yet. So they pretty much held firm. The residential real estate market remains solid, given the healthy purchase demand that we're seeing out there. And so the inventory, the home price growth in the inventory really is what's, kind of plaguing the market, not so much from a mortgage rate. So as you can see, back even as of February 11th, 2011, where they stood, 2.73 for 30-year, and then 2.19% average for a 15-year as well. All right, so if we can move to the next slide, let's take a look at the appreciation. So I'm sure that all of you noticed this in your business. Appreciation across the country remained so strong. As the overall United States at 9.7%. You can see in South Carolina, it was averaging at 9%. Just growth across the country. And I'm sure you guys are really seeing that in your business. It really is a seller's market, to be honest. And unfortunately, that is leading to leaving a lot of buyers, outside of being able to get into a home. That darker blue represents greater than or equal to 13%. So some of those areas, not a whole lot, but some of those areas, well exceeded that. All right, so let's also talk about that challenge we just spoke about, which is inventory. And I hate to say it, the housing stock, as we know, is a huge challenge, and this map unfortunately solidifies that. It's right on point with what we're feeling in the market. As you can see, this actually represents the amount of housing stock that is available. The darker red, of course, has greater housing stock available. And basically, this is sale inventory compared to existing sale of homes. So that lighter yellow, the light tan, and the darker tan represent, not a lot of housing stock available. You can see that South Carolina has a mixture between the lighter yellow, tan, as well as some pockets of darker tan areas. But the most housing stock available is in that southern Florida area and also that southern part of New York, up into Maine portion of the country. So if we can go to the next slide, we're going to get into some new information. Now that we've touched on a lot of housing economic information, let's talk about things that are going to be important to your business. So this slide is really going to set the stage for the upcoming information that we're really going to talk about. So household formations actually increased to 1.5 million in 2020 in comparison to 2013 when it was at 653,000. That's huge. Even with the inventory, households are still being formed, inventory shortages, the challenges, households are still being formed. This is really great for business because we believe that this trend is actually going to continue in some way. There's so many different creative ways out there for homes. So we're hoping that that continues to increase. Now, if we were in person, I would talk about this next portion, millennials living with parents. I would ask how many of you may have millennials that are in the basement or have moved back home or just still will not leave. We have done a study, and based off of the Joint Center for Housing, we found that 25% of millennials are still living with their parents, but they're making a shift to get out of their parents' house. And you will see that. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Minority share of households is actually going to increase to about 75% projected by 2025. So really hitting in on the fact that the future home buyer is going to be younger, as well as more diverse, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. So millennial households, if you're not focused right now on your business, or your business is not focused on millennials, you're going to be missing a big opportunity. Millennials are going to be projected to making up to 49.8 million households by 2035. That's in comparison to the 16 million that we recorded back in 2015. That is a huge opportunity that is coming your way. So how do you engage with them? How do you create market strategies? How do you overcome some of the challenges that we'll talk about in a moment regarding student loan debt, down payment issues? This is really your future home buyer, and so it's going to be important for you to have the tools, resources, any product options available to them. Households age 65 and up, they're still going to make up to 31 million households by 2025. So whether that's them, downsizing or just aging in place. A lot of households now, or that we have with baby boomers, they are aging in place and they want their house to remain that. So they're looking for renovation options. They're looking for other ways to just keep their house the way that it is. They're still going to be making up a significant portion of the household formations as well. So now let's talk about that future home buyer. I know that, again, there was a lot of information. We're going to talk about the clients and how that client is changing in the new future and the future to come. So as you can see on the next slide, the U.S. is becoming more and more diverse. I wanted to combine U.S. and diverse together. The biggest growth that we're actually seeing right now is between the 18 to 39-year-old age bracket. We see the biggest growth between the Hispanic Black population as well as the AAPI population. We also see a lot of growth in the 40 to 64-year-old age bracket, and we anticipate that that's actually going to be higher when we go ahead and pull some of that information for 2020 as well, just some of the growth that we're actually seeing. By 2045, we do anticipate that the minority population will actually be the majority. So again, really hitting home that the future home buyer is going to be changing and becoming more diverse. So how are you engaging with this network? On the next slide, you will see that we pulled in the NAR information for first-time home buyers. So the not so great news here is that first-time home buyer share continues to fall. So it's at 31% right now, dropping down from the 33% the year before. It's actually the lowest that we've seen since 1987 when it was at 30%. And again, some of those are because of simply barriers to home ownership. But again, hitting on, you're going to see a common theme over these next couple slides, is that 86% of first-time home buyers were younger millennials, 52% were older millennials, but they made up to most of the first-time home buyers. And most of the primary reason why is because they have a desire to own their own home. There's a strong sense of just wealth building, positivity in owning a home in this age bracket. So they really do believe that it's an important purchase that they're going to make, and they really do believe in the mission of making, living the American dream, which is owning a home. First-time home buyers who finance their homes typically financed about 93% of their home. Down payment sources come from 78% are about savings, 24% come from friends or relatives, I always come to this portion, but I'm like, I would love to know friends and relatives that would provide those down payment resources, but that's always great. And then I want you to keep this nugget in your back pocket, which is 25% use FHA loans. And the reason why I want to point that out is because FHA loan, while it is a great loan and it's a great product, there are other solutions out there that may not be as costly for your clients as an FHA loan. Meaning they can save, on the appraisals, they can save on the inspections, they can save on, maybe the PMI that is required for that. So we're going to talk about some other solutions that are available. And first-time homebuyers typically stay in their house for about 10 years. What I want to point out on this slide, and I hope some of you are looking at this, and what we're going to get to is that single females actually account for 18% of the current first-time home buyers. That is huge, and we will talk about that in just a moment as to what the impact is that they're making. If you can go to the next slide. All right, so some of the highlights of millennials. Again, we're going to spend a lot of time over the next several minutes talking about millennials, but they're the most likely to form the new households. Over 85%, as I mentioned earlier, consider their home a good purchase, good investment. The income growth among younger adults has been particularly strong, and they use the internet for house searches or searches for house, but they turn to the realtor to complete a purchase. So I want to pause there for a moment because I think a lot of time millennials get lumped into this tech savvy, not as personal, want to do it themselves, do their own research, when in fact they actually do require the trusted advisor to help them when they're going to purchase a home. It's a huge investment, and so they do rely heavily on the expert. And the 98% who purchased a home in the past year use financing, of course, for their purchase. Again, kind of addressing the cash buyers that we're seeing, that's not going to be this demographic, if you will. If you can go to the next slide, you will see, well, where are the millennials living? So what we did at Freddie Mac is we actually did a study called Mortgage Ready. And what that was is those who are 45 and under, meeting a certain credit criteria of 620 and higher, greater or equal to 620 or higher, and then of course, minor delinquencies. And what we found was there's approximately 27 million young millennials who are mortgage ready across the country. And what we then wanted to do was, well, where are they living? And you guys in South Carolina are lucky because they're really living there. You can see that there's greater than 75% mortgage ready individuals in your market. That's what those little blue bubbles mean. The green means there's less than 50% that are actually mortgage ready in comparison to the homes that are there. And then the 50 to 75% is represented through the purple bubbles that you'll see. So again, really pointing out that even though millennials are, they're having challenges with down payment, having challenges with student loan debt, there are 27 million out there that are actually mortgage ready. So again, really hitting home on the purpose or the importance of targeting this group in your business. On the next slide, if you can go to the next slide, we'll talk about student loans. So we wanted to understand the student loan issues that actually have arisen. And we took a look mainly at millennials. Now, this is not broken down by demographics. I know that different demographics, there are higher student loan debt populations within that. But out of all of millennials, only 20% of millennials actually have student loan debt. So really let that set in for a moment that we oftentimes think that they're automatically discounted for owning a home because they have student loan debt, when in fact, there's only 20% that actually do. The older millennials tend to have the largest percentage of student loan debt, ranging from 10,000 and above. And you can see, where this trend among Gen Z, young millennials, old millennials, Gen X, as well as seniors. If you can go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to break into single females now and talk about that. So adult composition of home buyer households is shifting. I've mentioned it throughout this, it's been a common theme. Single females are actually accounting for the second largest home buying segment. Most of the buyers, 65 to 73, make up to the highest share of households. They're the least likely, of course, to have children 18 and under in their home. Another thing I want to point out here on this slide is that from the 22 to 29-year-old age bracket, you will see that unmarried couples makes up to 21%. So the purpose of us looking at this is really understanding that that typical household, of married couples, of course, is going to always be there. But there are going to be some new client households that are going to be coming to you. How are you working with single females? How are you, meeting the needs? Maybe they're looking for a home just for them and they're going to be head of household. Maybe they're moving just with their children. How are you working with them to best serve this demographic? You can go to the next slide. So we did a study as well. We do a lot of studies here at Freddie Mac, and we wanted to understand a future female versus female, or male versus female homeownership expectation rates. And we've kept track of this since September 2016. According to the Freddie Mac survey, 66% of women said they expect to buy a home compared to 71% of men. Now, while it's higher for men to expect to own a home, women are actually the ones who are executing and actually purchasing the home at a higher rate. So really understanding that, compared to single males and single females, single female, once they put their mind to purchasing a home, they are going to most likely purchase that home and make that transaction happen. You can go to the next slide. We will see how satisfied they are. So we also included, how satisfied have you been with owning a home and your overall owning experience? And this takes in consideration, their interaction from their real estate agent to the lender to, getting into the home and feeling comfortable and making sure that they made the right decision. 62% of female owners are satisfied with owning a home compared to 58% of males. So really hitting home that, females, again, they're doing the research. When they're ready, they're going to make it happen. And all they need is a trusted advisor to help them in that process, in that very important process. So women, while they're making headway on, the household front, they're making headway also, in careers. You see a lot of elevation happening with careers, but they were also the most heavily hit when it came to COVID-19. They experienced the highest spike in job losses since 1948, higher than the Great Recession. Women represented a lot of the different industries, especially when it came to leisure, hospitality, healthcare, and education. Black and Hispanic women lost their jobs, at a disproportionate rate. We're going to actually provide some resources in case you have come across any of your previous clients who were impacted by unemployment or maybe having hardship and currently homeowners. But I want to point that out that, while women are elevating in, owning a home and making these bigger transactions, they were significantly impacted throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, so let's move on to what the local data looks like. So we talked about it from a very high level, but let's talk about what that looks like in your market. So in regards to population to age comparison, I always like to take a look at this because I keep telling you that millennials are your future home buyer. Well, according to this slide, that is your future home buyer. So the US overall, you can see, has a significant portion of the 25 to 34-year-old age bracket. And you can see that is consistent across South Carolina. Taking into consideration, you have a lot of colleges and universities, but it's consistent across all the different markets that we were able to pull in. Charleston leading the way. But then following that, you have 35 to 44 years old. So right now, older millennials are transitioning and purchasing homes. So 30 to 39-year-old age bracket is the one that's actually making the biggest headway in the millennial population. You have all of that at your fingertips all over South Carolina. And again, you can see some of the differences as far as the greater portions of this. But yes, you're in a really great location. So the next slide, let's talk about owner occupancy versus renter occupancy. The reason why we look at this is because this gives you an idea of what opportunity is out there. So owner occupancy across the country is about 65.7%. South Carolina actually rates higher at 69.6%. You can see the breakdown with that, York really leading the way at 73.7%. This is an opportunity for in your business to either help those who are looking to downsize, may need a bigger home, but just knowing that there's a lot of owners in the area can help you when they make some of those changes due to life changes or just ready to purchase a home. Now the renter occupancy is about 30.4% across South Carolina. This is an opportunity to talk to those about who are renting, the importance of home ownership and how they watch to be saving. They're not really building equity by renting any sort of property. That really comes with building wealth, and all of that really comes with owning a home. So this is just the opportunity that is in your localized markets. So lastly, we'll look at the credit score. And so the credit score in the US right now on average is about 694. In South Carolina, it's at 668. And it's ranging a little bit higher in the other markets, Charleston, Greenville, Horry, and New York, but still below the US average. But what I want to point out here and take a pause for is that sometimes when you see lower credit scores, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have bad credit. There are a lot of people, believe it or not, that have not been taught how to establish credit, meaning they don't have anything available. And so their credit score isn't necessarily pulling in anything. And so this is still a great opportunity for you to still build your client base and to build your pipeline by maybe taking a little bit of extra time to point them in the direction of financial education tools to help them prepare for homeownership, to build their credit, to establish their credit. And then say, for example, they have one medical bill on their credit file. That is something just paying off and establishing credit further can turn around their credit score within the next 6 to 12 months, and they're coming back to you to say, hey, I'm ready to own a home. So we really want to change the narrative around lower credit scores. It doesn't necessarily always mean bad credit. It could just mean that they don't have, they have a lack of established credit. If you can go to the next slide. All right, so what does all this mean to you? All of this information that we just covered, the purchase market remains strong. There are a lot of qualified first-time home buyers out there. They just need help and overcoming the misconceptions, understanding what's available to them. Prepare your business for changing demographics. Again, they're going to be younger. Future clients are going to be younger, more diverse, as well as female. And then how can we be of service and help to you? We can provide, insights, education. We're going to talk about some mortgage products and set you up for the next couple of webinars and some business solutions to really help you navigate this new home buyer that is going to be coming into the marketplace. So I'm going to touch briefly on that in the next couple of slides. So how do you identify borrowers' needs? On the next slide, you'll see that, really first-time home buyers, low to moderate income home buyers, underserved communities, and those, current owners facing financial difficulties really want to find out how to reduce the barriers and help them, raise hope that they can find, solutions out there. Home buyers are looking for low down payment options, products. They're looking for down payment assistance. And they're also looking for flexible sources of funds to be able to get into a home as well. So on the next slide, you'll see that, this is kind of what you go through when you're, meeting with your clients for the first time. You're exploring their needs. Just as I mentioned earlier, they're looking for down payment assistance. You're asking them, how much do they have, for closing? Are they going to have 20, 10%, 5%, 3% down? Are they a first-time home buyer? Where are they looking to have a home? Are they looking for, a condo, a townhouse? These are all some of the things that you talk about. But one of the things I want to point out on this is the 20%. We have to change that conversation. That 20% down is actually the norm because the average down payment right now is about 12%. And amongst millennials, it's even lower than that. It was about 7%. And that myth of 20% is what's keeping a lot of those home buyers from the table. So I want to talk to you about some of the solutions that we have available on the next slide. So we have our Home Possible Mortgage, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because that is what the second webinar is going to be for. But Home Possible is a 3% down conventional product. It's designed for borrowers with very low to income or very low or low to income, as well as first-time home buyers that need flexible source of funds. This can really help you in your business because it expands access to credit to more credit-worthy borrowers. And on the next slide, you can see a little bit more detail of how that actually helps. So it has the cancelable private PMI on there. So it's only required actually on the loan if the loan to value is over 80%. It's not limited again to first-time home buyers. It supports manufactured housing. If you happen to be in a market in South Carolina that has a lot more manufactured housing, this product still supports it. It allows for non-traditional credit, and it really helps to improve sustainability. We have home buyer education that helps the borrowers, the buyers prepare for homeownership, and there's no cost to that. So join us for the next webinar and we'll go into deeper dive into that, but that's just one solution for you. Then the next solution is for those, first-time home buyers. We needed to find a product that was conventional as well, 3% down, but had no income or geographical limitations, because there are a lot of people who maybe live in a higher cost area, make a higher income that might not meet the criteria for the 80% area median income that Home Possible has. Our first-time home buyer qualification are those who have not owned a home in 3 years or 3 years or greater. And so that is what qualifies as first-time home buyer, and only one owner needs to be a first-time home buyer. So those are our first two products. We're going to have, again, a deep dive session on the next session to dive into those products and how that can best help serve your clients. And in addition to that, we know that there's a lot of aged housing stock out there. So we also created 4 new product solutions to help tackle some of that. We have our choice renovation, because we know that aged housing stock requires renovations and repairs. And instead of having your client use a Home Depot card, what better way to have them have financing that can be inclusive with a Home Possible or Home One mortgage in a single closed transaction. We also created something that focuses on energy efficiency through our green choice. Aged homes also need window updates. They need potentially new water updates. This product really does help with that. Then again, manufactured housing, we have Choice Home, and we actually partner with Choice Home with Clayton Homes. That's actually in South Carolina. Excuse me. So this is financing for factory built HUD code homes affixed to permanent foundations entitled as real property. And lastly, shared equity home ownership. This is financing for homes with affordability administered by not-for-profits or state and local governments. So the third webinar is actually going to touch on that. And so if you go to the next slide, you will see when those webinars are coming up. So session 2 is going to be April 15th. So in just a couple of weeks, we will take a deep dive into Home Possible mortgages and Home One, how you can utilize that with your clients. These are great solutions, again, for those low to moderate income, but also those first-time home buyers who need a solution that only requires them to have 3% down. And of course, again, helping them build equity by only, having the cancelable primary or private mortgage insurance. The third session is going to be choice renovation and green choice. We're going to talk about how those are helping new homeowners get into homes, because the aged housing stock, on average, the homes are 20 years or greater older in the U.S. So they definitely need solutions. That's going to be April 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So I think that wraps up my time. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Monica Crue, who's going to spend some time talking to you about some of the free resources that we actually have available to you here as well.
Thank you, Marlana. Awesome. So everything that I cover here today is free to you. I'm going to cover some tools and resources that are designed to help both you and your buyers. So the first is My Home. Now, My Home by Freddie Mac is a consumer-facing website that provides answers to common questions related to home ownership. The website has videos, infographics, and quizzes that your buyers can use to gain knowledge about the home buying process. It's a great tool to use after an open house. When following up with those who attended, include this website in an email. Your buyers can view at their own pace and without ads. It's a great tool for you to fish for more buyers on social media. Post it, post the links, post the quizzes, post the infographics. Remind your followers that you are the go-to when it comes time to buying a home. The website also has information for consumers looking to rent, refinance, or sell. Now, you all answered Marlana's question in the chat about, the barriers to home ownership, and we all know down payment is definitely one of those. So we partner with a company called Down Payment Resources, and they're a consumer-facing website that provides information about down payment that's available in your area. It's a great website to use. You can even use it as a professional. Go to the website, enter the address of one of your listings. You might be surprised to learn that one of the houses that you're selling may be eligible for some free money. And again, at the end of the presentation, we will be following up. You will get a PDF copy of this in addition to all of the web links that we are sharing today. So no need to jot down notes. You will get a detailed list of all of these resources. Now, here at Freddie Mac, we have many tools and resources to help you reach and educate first-time home buyers. One of my favorites is CreditSmart. CreditSmart is financial education that teaches consumers about homeownership. Not only does it teach, buyers how to get ready to purchase a home, it also teaches homeowners how to avoid foreclosure. It's actually turning 20 this year, so it's getting a little bit of a revamp, but the current curriculum contains 12 modules. It has topics closing on a loan, restoring your credit, and so it's a great resource. It comes complete with budget worksheets that your buyers can actually download to create their own savings plan if they need, a little bit of hand holding to save for that 3% down. There's also a module dedicated on restoring your credit. We talked about the importance of a credit score. And if you have any buyers who might not be there or might need some extra hand holding, this is a great tool for them to go take it. It's self-paced, it's online, it's free to help them get the tools they need to increase their credit score. We also have a CreditSmart Train the Trainer program where you as a real estate professional can become certified to teach CreditSmart in your community. We are doing those trainings right now virtually. You have to attend 4 90-minute webinars. You have to attend all of them. There's a small quiz, and then you would get access to all of the curriculum that we have to teach it in your community. So again, more information on the website. We also created CreditSmart Homebuyer U. This is the newest benefit in our CreditSmart suite. And what it is again, financial education, but this actually walks them through the home buying process. It's free, self-paced, online. It's very mobile friendly. I took it myself actually using my iPhone. People can, on their lunch break, they're, do 15 minutes. And then when they come home, they can log into their computer, picks up right where they left off. It's great because, with some of the loan down payment products that we offer, they do require home buyer education, and this is free. So if you want to use Home Possible or Home One and you need that education, this satisfies it. So once they complete the course, they get a certificate that can go straight to their lender of choice and be saved in their file ready for closing. It's available also within the last couple of weeks, we launched the Spanish versions, so available in English and in Spanish. Great resource. Living with COVID-19 has become the new normal, and everybody is experiencing its impact at different times and in different ways. We here at Freddie Mac are continuing to support and assist home buyers. And I want to remind you of a couple of resources that we have available in case you have any past clients who might be reaching out. The first thing that you want to remind your clients to do, that if they are experiencing a hardship, is the first call should be to their servicer. It's best that they're honest and upfront and that they reach out before any missed payments, just so that they don't, avoid any sort of, negative hits on their credit. There are many options available. Reaching out to your servicer will help provide guidance on that, whether it's loan modification, payment deferral, payment relief. We have a Freddie Mac loan lookup tool. You can actually go to our website, answer a few questions, and find out if Freddie Mac does own your mortgage. If we don't, there's a link to take you to the Fannie Mae website, so you can find out to see if Fannie Mae owns their mortgage as well. So great resource. All the information is available here. To help homeowners, navigate these COVID-19 hardships, we launched an initiative called #HelpStarts here. And what we've created is an interactive guide that provides a roadmap to understanding the options available to stay in your home. The campaign outlines possible options and alternatives for homeowners that they could take if they were affected by COVID. Now that could mean that they themselves have become ill, a family member may have become ill, or there's a loss of income, whether reduced hours or a loss of job. There's definitely options that fall within that COVID-19 hardship definition. It also defines forbearance. What is it? How is it going to affect your credit, both in the short and the long term? And then unfortunately, in times of need, there are a lot of bad people out there. And so we've done is put together some tips or tricks and what to look for to avoid any scams. So please visit the website, get familiar with the resources that are out there in case you still continue to have homeowners who might be reaching out to explore their options. No, Marlena covered a lot of information about the changing demographics of future homeowners. And we've partnered with our sister company, Fannie Mae, and our regulator, FHFA, to create an online industry standard clearinghouse of translated documents. It's important that we provide tools like this to make home possible for all. Visit the website, learn an industry term in a new language. We've translated documents into Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, and Tagalog. So a great resource for both you as a professional and your potential buyers. The next few slides are going to cover some resources that can help you as a professional. The housing market is constantly changing, and it's important that we stay up to date with news and information. Freddie Mac can help you do that. What we've created are some ebooks that feature Freddie Mac data and insights that showcase needs and opportunities in the market. We also have an affordable lending insights page. It's a great website to bookmark. It has quick read articles on perspectives and behaviors on trends that are driving the housing market. These are free resources for you that will help highlight you as a trusted professional in the industry. We also joined the podcast bandwagon, and we created a podcast. It's called HelpStarts here. It launched in fall of 2019. It's a great, podcast to listen while you're in between listing appointments. Episodes are about 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of great information. I know we did a podcast on covering, forbearance and what it is. We also highlight other, Freddie Mac thought leaders and other trends that are driving the housing, industry. So please listen, subscribe, go to Apple, iTunes, or your Google Play Store to take a listen. I want to remind you that everything we covered here today is free to you. Marlana mentioned we don't lend directly. We can't sell anything to your buyers. We are really here to be your partner to make home possible for all. So I ask that you stay connected with us and engaged by subscribing to our Real Estate Professionals Resource Center. What we share in our emails are key insights, industry trends, upcoming events that can help you grow your business and reach more buyers. To subscribe, you're going to visit the website here. You're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. There's going to be a little box that says, email address. Just go ahead and enter your email address. You're going to click next. There's a few questions to answer, and then you'll be able to get all the latest news and information available. So before we go and see if there's any questions, I want to thank you guys so much for your time today. I want to remind you that the presentation is being recorded. That will be shared with you directly afterwards and available on the South Carolina YouTube page, Realtors YouTube page. Our next two events are in April 15th, where we're going to go into a deep dive into Home Possible and Home One. And then on April 22nd, talking about choice renovation and green choice. So be on the lookout for an email to register for both of these events. And an email will also follow with the the PDF presentation, as well as all the links to the resources that we covered today. So Marlana, I'm going to turn it back to you to see if there's any questions in the chat or any additional things that we'd like to cover.
If you have any questions at all, just feel free to put those in the chat, as Monica mentioned. If you have any questions after you receive the PDF of the presentation today, feel free to send those questions over to us, and we will respond to you as they come in. We hope that you enjoyed today's session. Thank you so much for giving us your time and attention, and thank you again, South Carolina Association of Realtors, for this partnership. We look forward to our next presentation on April 15th. All right, thank you. You guys have a great day. Oh, I have one question. Sorry about that. Do you have a state number of college debt? You mean for South Carolina? No, we actually do not have that. We have it more of a national level, but what I can do is see if we have some of that internal research available and follow up with you. It may take a little bit of time because our research and analytics team is always working on new things, but I will definitely try to get some information, either yes or no, on what I have available. Thanks. Probably, yeah. I think by demographics, and I'm sorry, one of the things that was mentioned is I think there are more people in South Carolina with debt, in debt with school loans. Again, we didn't break down the demographics of it or state by state, But I would assume, and I think that you're correct in saying this, I mean, because there are more universities, because there are more colleges, it would be safe to assume that there are probably, you know, people with a larger student debt in South Carolina. All right, any other questions? Again, thank you so much. Oh, okay, great. So you're here in agreement. Thank you, Beth. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe and have a wonderful weekend.